Did you ever feel like your biggest weakness was also a curse? What if I told you that the very thing you fear most about yourself, that deep sensitivity, that way of feeling the world in your bones, is actually your main secret weapon against manipulation? What would happen if you discovered that there's a power inside you that few master, capable not only of protecting you, but of completely transforming your relationships, your choices, and most importantly, your view of yourself? Pause for a moment, take a deep breath, look inside. Can you imagine what would change in your life if pain and vulnerability stopped being walls and became bridges to your true freedom? Because what I'm about to reveal today can literally turn your life upside down. It's not an exaggeration, it's science, it's deep psychology, it's lived experience. Are you ready to question everything you've been told about empathy, strength, and emotional survival? Before you take the next step, hold on. Have you liked this video yet? Have you subscribed to the channel? Hit the bell, comment below with an "I'm ready to change," and share this video with someone you know needs to hear this. You'll want to be part of this transformation movement. Get ready, because this journey starts now. Today you're going to discover the antidote no one ever told you about, that missing piece in the puzzle of your mind and heart. Until now, maybe you've heard that empathy is a weakness, that sensitive people suffer more. But what if I told you that empathy, when understood and integrated, makes you immune, yes, immune, to narcissistic manipulation? Imagine being able to look the manipulator in the eyes and truly know who's behind that mask. Throughout this video, I'll guide you on a path of self-discovery based on Carl Jung's revolutionary teachings. You'll understand, for the first time, the hidden dynamic between empaths and narcissists from the perspective of analytical psychology. You'll learn why so many good, generous people end up trapped in toxic relationships, and, more importantly, how to break free from this cycle for good. But pay attention. I'm not talking about empty motivational phrases or magical internet techniques. Today you'll receive concrete, practical tools that will transform your sensitivity into your greatest shield. You'll learn to see yourself without shame, recognize hidden patterns of abuse, build unbreakable boundaries, and finally experience the power of living without fear. By the end of this journey, you will no longer be just a victim of circumstances. You will be the force, silent, imposing, that changes everything around you. Are you ready to never be manipulated again? This promise isn't just talk. It has a foundation. It has a name. And supporting all of this is one of the greatest geniuses of 20th century psychology, Carl Gustav Jung. Jung was one of the first to see that the human mind is a deep universe, full of hidden parts, mysterious forces, and possibilities for healing. It was he who said that what you resist persists, and that true freedom is only achieved when we have the courage to face what exists in the darkness of our own psyche. Jung realized that every human being carries a shadow, a set of repressed parts, denied emotions, unprocessed pains, everything we learn to hide, often even from ourselves. And here's the secret almost no one tells you. The more you deny your shadow, the more vulnerable you become to those who know how to use their own darkness to manipulate, control, and destroy. This is exactly why empaths, people naturally connected to others' suffering, end up attracting narcissists, masters at masking their own shadow and projecting onto others what they can't stand in themselves. But Jung also showed that it's possible to reverse this dynamic. By integrating their own shadow, the empath becomes whole. And a whole person is invulnerable to manipulation. It's a science of self-mastery, of courage, of deep self-knowledge. I've studied, lived, applied, and seen real transformations happen when these concepts leave the books and enter real life. Are you ready to walk this path? Imagine that familiar feeling. You feel like you need to help, support, save everyone. You absorb others' emotions, feel when the atmosphere is heavy, perceive lies in the air, and at the end of the day, it seems like all that weight stays with you. Sometimes it's as if the world is always turning against those who simply feel too much. Maybe you've already said to yourself, "Why am I like this? Why can't I shield myself? Am I weak? Do people only approach me to drain my energy?" Now, think about how many times you've found yourself distrusting someone, that feeling of manipulation, that they're using your goodwill for their own interests. Maybe it's a dominating boss, a controlling partner, or even a family member. You try to set boundaries, but you feel guilty right after. Before you know it, you're giving in again, biting your tongue, running out of energy. The cycle seems endless, and the suffering inevitable. The empath's pain isn't just loneliness. It's a feeling of injustice. It's that certainty that no matter how hard they try to do the right thing, they always end up at a disadvantage. And the narcissist learns, sooner or later, to identify and attack precisely these blind spots, using praise, guilt, or invented needs. The empath feels responsible, the narcissist in control. But why this dance? What truly unites these two personalities in such intensely destructive bonds? The answer goes far beyond personality traits or internet diagnoses. It's directly linked to what Jung called the shadow, and the ability or inability to look inward and see one's own wounds before others exploit them. Have you ever felt that emptiness, that deep exhaustion that seems to never go away? You deserve to understand, once and for all, how to break this cycle, not just to escape the pain, but to transform everything it means to you. We're just getting started. Remember, subscribe, comment, and share this message if a word touched your heart. In the next chapters, we'll delve together into the journey of the shadow, debunk myths, present practical techniques, and visualize side by side the life of a truly free empath. Ready? The transformation you've been looking for has already begun. When we talk about shadow, we're referring to a part of our psyche that, at first glance, might seem dark, frightening, or even undesirable. But is this part truly an enemy, or can we look at it differently? Carl Jung, the great master of analytical psychology, describes the shadow as the hidden side of our personality, everything we repress, deny, or can't accept in ourselves. It's what we keep in the unconscious, because our conscious mind often prefers to be blind to certain aspects of our being. This shadow is formed by unrecognized emotions, forgotten traumas, repressed impulses, and even qualities that society, family, or we ourselves label as bad or imperfect. For the empath suffering narcissistic abuse, understanding the shadow is fundamental, because the narcissist plays like no one else on the weakest points of this hidden part of us. But what's the big takeaway here? The shadow isn't just a repository of bad things. It's also a gigantic source of energy, creative potential, and personal power. It's in the shadow that the most genuine emotions and traits we repress to try to fit in reside, the raw force of our authenticity. When an empath can recognize and integrate this shadow, they stop being hunted by darkness. They master it, transform it, and use it for their own defense and growth. Think of it this way. The shadow is the unexplored territory within you that, once discovered, becomes your greatest ally. You don't strengthen yourself by denying your wounds or pretending they don't exist, but by looking directly at them, understanding where they come from, why they cause pain, and how they can be transmuted into strength. It's an intense journey, yes, and full of powerful emotions. But it's also the key to breaking free from the vicious cycle that traps you. That's why many empaths get stuck, unable to break narcissistic abuse. They fight the shadow as if it were an external monster, forgetting that this darkness is part of them. Without this understanding, manipulation perpetuates, because the narcissist uses precisely the part the empath doesn't want to see, feeding guilt, shame, fear. But integrating the shadow changes the game. From here on, you'll learn to radically face something that contemporary culture usually avoids. The dark part of yourself is not a sign of weakness, but of hidden power. Curious to understand how this insight has already transformed thousands of lives? Stay with me. Now that you've started to grasp the concept of the shadow, let's break down some beliefs that have probably kept you trapped in suffering and a feeling of powerlessness. Have you been told that empathy is synonymous with weakness? That feeling too much means being too vulnerable? Or that there's no cure for those in abusive relationships with narcissists? It's time to tear down these ideas that for years have fueled your self-criticism and the cycle of abuse. First of all, empathy is not your enemy. No, quite the opposite. We wouldn't be talking to incredibly sensitive people who, by being connected to others' suffering, have a unique power to understand and transform realities. The problem isn't that you feel too much, but that you don't know how to consciously deal with that sensitivity. It's being blind to your own limits and needs. Next, there's nothing wrong with setting clear and firm boundaries. The guilt you feel for protecting your energy and space is a narcissistic mechanism designed to keep you submissive. Breaking free from this is the first form of liberation. You're not being selfish, you're defending yourself. And that requires a new reading of these emotions that haunt you. Another powerful myth is to think that the narcissist feels anything real or that they will someday change because you did something different. Narcissistic manipulation is a very particular dynamic. It works by projecting the narcissist's own shadows onto the empath, creating a dance where the empath feels responsible for the abuser's well-being. The truth that may have hurt but is liberating is that changing the narcissist is not within your control. Real change comes from within you, from your integration of the shadow and self-knowledge. Furthermore, the shadow is not a loss of control, much less a monster that will destroy you if you allow yourself to know it. It's part of your psychological balance. Ignoring, denying, or fleeing from this part will amplify emotional confusion, anxiety, and the cycle of pain. The path to healing involves embracing this inner darkness and learning to dialogue with it, transforming what you fear into what you master. In other words, empathy is not weakness. Boundaries are not selfishness. The narcissist won't change because of your effort, and the shadow is not your real enemy. It's your portal to strength. Understanding this is liberating because it changes how we look at ourselves and others, and it changes how we approach every relationship, every conflict, every emotional challenge. You're beginning to explore an underexplored but essential territory. If you're already feeling that these ideas resonate deep within you, it's time to move on to concrete action. What Jung's analytical psychology proposes to immunize you against manipulation isn't a magical instant treatment, but a process of self-discovery and inner work that can start right now. The initial step for the empath is to stop looking outside for answers and projecting blame. Transformation begins by looking inward, learning to listen to your emotions with empathy for yourself, not with judgment. This is where the mirror technique comes in, which consists of dedicating a few minutes daily to observing your own emotional reactions, feelings, and thoughts that arise in conflict situations. In practice, when you feel vulnerable, try to write down what you're feeling, what thoughts emerge, and what makes you uncomfortable. Ask yourself, what is this reaction telling me about myself? What part of this experience am I choosing not to see? This is the process of integrating the shadow, recognizing and accepting the parts that, until now, you've been avoiding. Another powerful method is to work with the sacred no, a concept that means asserting your boundaries in a healthy and assertive way without guilt or fear. Empaths often have difficulty saying no due to a deep fear of rejection or abandonment. Learning to use no as a form of self-respect is one of the pillars for strengthening emotional immunity against the narcissist. Practice saying no in small everyday situations. Observe how it feels to imagine that you can choose what you accept and what you don't accept in your life without needing to over-explain. This exercise strengthens your presence, your self-care, and reduces the space for manipulation. But what to do in more difficult situations when the narcissist tries to use your emotions to the extreme? The answer lies in developing what Jung called the dominant feeling function, which in empaths is natural, but needs to be balanced with other psychological functions, such as reason and the instinct for self-protection. Here, the work is to learn to observe without drowning in the other's emotion. It's not about stopping feeling, but learning to separate what is yours from what belongs to the other. For this, a useful technique is visualization. Imagine a bubble of light around you, protecting you and filtering external emotions. Visualize this bubble as a flexible shield that lets you feel but doesn't let you be invaded. Finally, the journey won't be easy, and that's natural. You'll go through moments of doubt, anguish, and fear. But every step you take, integrating your shadow, strengthening boundaries, and improving your emotional awareness, will take you further and further away from the shadow that narcissists use to hurt you. The transformation of empathy into a weapon of emotional defense begins now. The shadow is not your enemy, it is your hidden power, waiting to be unleashed. Want to know how to overcome the challenges of this journey? Stay with me. The next chapters are for you who want to go further. Every deep journey of self-knowledge, especially when it involves facing one's own shadow, inevitably goes through what some call the dark night of the soul. This intense and challenging stage is nothing more than a moment when our entire old, internal structure begins to crumble, when the masks we wear to exist on the surface are removed, and everything that seemed solid turns to dust. For the empath fighting narcissistic manipulation, this phase can be especially painful. You may feel lost, adrift, immersed in deep doubts about yourself and the people around you. It's common during this phase for emotions to be raw, the feeling of loneliness to intensify, and that old cycle of self-criticism and insecurity to hit hard at the mind's door. You might start to question if all this effort of looking inward is even worth it. Perhaps doubts will arise about whether you're going crazy for simply trying to understand and accept parts of yourself that have always been hidden. But it's precisely in this moment that the greatest growth can happen. The dark night of the soul, though frightening, is also a rare opportunity for true rebirth of the self. It's the time when the old version of you, fragile, vulnerable, and full of limiting beliefs, needs to die so that a new self can be born stronger, more whole, and more capable of protecting your energy from external manipulations. Remember, there are no shortcuts to this part of the path. Every empath needs to go through their own dark night, respecting their time and their pains. Don't compare yourself to anyone. Don't rush to get out of this moment. The important thing is to stay, to feel, and above all, to allow yourself to be cared for. Seeking emotional support from trusted allies, professionals, or support groups can be fundamental to navigating this phase with more security. In this journey, you'll encounter doubts about your emotions, your ability to set boundaries, and even the possibility of cultivating healthy relationships. These doubts are a sign that you are deconstructing old beliefs to make space for something new. The most incredible thing is that, at the end of this process, resilience, self-confidence, and emotional clarity will be rewards you carry forever. Now imagine a scenario completely different from the one you live in today. Imagine waking up every morning feeling truly at peace with yourself, with solid self-confidence that doesn't depend on external approval. Imagine looking at the people around you, friends, family, partners, and relating from a place of emotional security, without fear, without anxiety, and above all, without being manipulated. This is the ideal state that Jung calls individuation, the process by which a person becomes unified, whole, and authentic, capable of balancing their lights and shadows, their emotions and reason. In individuation, the empath no longer absorbs the suffering of others as a shield that weakens them, but uses that sensitivity to connect in a healthy and protected way. They create clear and precise boundaries, respect their space, and honor their emotions without getting lost in them. In this state, the shadow is no longer seen as something to fear, but as a powerful ally. Your wounds stop being sources of pain and become doors to self-knowledge and deep healing. Empathy ceases to be a vulnerability and transforms into a unique gift, capable of demanding justice, offering true compassion, and creating balance in relationships in the world. Visualize yourself in this moment, a person with high and balanced self-esteem, who knows how to recognize their own light and accept their own shadows, who naturally protects themselves from manipulation because they know and value their own limits. Imagine your social, professional, and personal life flowing more lightly, with genuine connections, without games or false intentions. This is not an unattainable fantasy. It's possible and within your reach, as long as you commit to the journey that begins now. By reaching this state, the feeling of living in a something greater becomes a concrete reality. You become the force that guides internal and external transformations, the light that doesn't go out even in the most difficult moments. If you've made it this far, reading and listening with an open heart, I want to invite you to take the next step in your transformation. No significant journey is made alone. The strength you seek is also in connecting with other people who share the same pains and desires for overcoming. So, don't put it off. Subscribe to this channel, like this video so that it reaches more people who need this message, and share your experiences here in the comments. Your story matters, and your voice can be the light for those who are still lost. Let's create together this community of strengthened empaths, free from manipulation and ready to integrate the shadow and walk the path of individuation. Activate notifications so you don't miss any content that will support you on this journey. And remember, transformation begins with one step, which can be the simple act of telling yourself, I deserve to be whole and free. If you liked this video, share it, because maybe the next person who sees this message is exactly who needs this light today. If you have any questions or want me to elaborate on a specific topic, comment here. We are together on this journey, and every shared insight further strengthens those around us. Don't let the shadow be a burden. Transform it into an inexhaustible source of personal power. Now is your time. The path is before you. Shall we go together?